Hello friends and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out something called Jet Lag by developer SVBLM. This is a game from the Procedural Generation Jam 2014 and features gameplay that I would liken to something similar to a hybridization of Nuclear Throne and Thomas Was Alone, and I know that makes absolutely no sense, but you'll have to bear with me for a moment here while I try to explain, or well, perhaps demonstrate would be more accurate. The developer gives a little bit of a blurb here, calls this a hyper-minimal roguelike that features unforgiving tactical gameplay in the noisiest environment possible. And as you can probably tell from the title screen, I think I'm going to have to go ahead and issue an epilepsy warning on this episode. Seems like we're going to have quite a few flashing lights and colors here, so if that is, of any effect to you, make sure that that is okay. Anyway, let's jump into things, and I will do a little bit of clicking and explaining, as is often the case. Our instructions here on the title screen, of course, say click to move, kill enemies by bashing them, press enter to start. Pretty straightforward stuff, to be honest. So here we go. Alright, so we've generated a level. Every time we play this, as is often the case with roguelike-likes, we are given a slightly different permutation of a map, and you'll see we've got a variety of bits of geometry all chasing us. I'm already dead. I've barely gotten a chance to even show you what's going on here. Anyway, I'm the red cube, as you've probably figured out, and I'm dead again. And I'm clicking around wherever that arrow is will trigger me to go in that direction, with the velocity indicated by the length that view cone seems to be shooting out of my body. And so obviously the more velocity I have, the further I can reach, and the higher chances of smashing enemies there are. So we've got to learn the varieties of different things. There's, both enemies and power-ups here. I just picked up the body electric, which gives me this special, bolt of lightning that's going to shoot out and kill enemies for me automatically. I do have to be in a good position, though, for line of sight to even take place, and there is no guarantee that the electricity will actually proc at a moment that would actually be helpful to me. So I've got to do my best there. I got buddy system. You'll see there's this a little bit of an AI companion following me around now. And we're just going to kind of dance around this maze, let everything play out, and watch that I don't get insta-killed when I slide into the next level. That is a bit of a thing that I've noticed with this, and I haven't played a lot of it, but I played maybe about 5 minutes before I started recording. And one of the most common things that would happen is I get to about to level 4, and then all of a sudden, as soon as I spawn in, I would be just instantly dead because like 5 projectiles would hit me at the same time. And oddly enough, I made it to level 4 before that could happen here. So I think that the premise to this is actually really fun, and I think that the gameplay and the combat, as it were, or if we want to call it combat, I suppose, is, just nuanced enough to be reasonably interesting and keep things rather fresh. The fact that there's power-ups is quite helpful as well, and I do appreciate the very minimal gameplay. There's also maybe a little bit of like a Hotline Miami vibe in that everything is kind of shaking around and changing colors, not to mention the tone that's set by the very kind of chill and almost hypnotic soundtrack that's going on. I actually sort of almost fell into a bit of a trance while I was listening to the title screen for a second. I was getting some sound levels and just kind of sitting there in my chair listening along, and before I noticed, like 5 minutes had gone by, and I was just letting it play over and over again. The loop on it is quite short as well, so it kind of makes it even funnier that I was susceptible to sitting there listening to it for that long. There's obviously some good things going on here. The gameplay is conducive to being very short. As you can see, I've not made it past level 4 yet, and I even know what to expect here for the most part. The only thing that I think really throws me off every time is those white projectile circles. Oh, why am I dead? Did one of them shoot me at the very last second? I'm not even sure what happened there. But yet every now and then, one of those circles will just get away from me, and I won't be able to tell that it's not an enemy, and in fact is a projectile that would kill me instantly if I run into it. That takes, I guess, a bit of practice and getting used to. And also, of course, being that it's, roguelike-like type scenario, I tried to get out of the way there. Every time you play it, you're going to get a different experience. There is the chance that you might end up having a much, much easier time one of the times just because the maps spawn you in a place that makes a lot more sense, and you're not really as much in danger. Those little wormy orange things kind of remind me like living Cheetos for some reason, which makes a whole different connotation to how this is playing out. Why did that kill me? I don't understand why I die like most of the time in this game. I think the way that the sliding works, like, you'll often stop right in front of an enemy, which will then run into you and kill you. So it's pretty easy to get stuck on stuff and then not realize why you died, which is, I guess okay. There's probably some way around that gameplay-wise that I'm not sure about how to do. But that's definitely a task that I would like to see undertaken, because it is a little frustrating whenever you die and you don't quite understand it. Maybe a little replay or something could go a length there. zipping around here. I feel like I'm getting a little better every now and then. Doing some zigzags, trying to loop in and out without getting hit. Letting the power-ups do their work whenever possible. If I could just, like, let them free into the space, that might actually help me out. Oh, come on, really? I let the Cheeto come to me, and it freaking got me anyway, even though I knew it was there. I was meant to dash away, and I was just going to let the AI companions do the work for me, but yeah, it just didn't work here. Oh, I lived that time. Okay, I guess the little cube got... No, dead already. The cube companion took care of that for me. I kind of wish there were some more power-ups, but then again, the gameplay goes by so fast that you can't really get too attached to anything once you find it. I was imagining there being, like, some Isaac-like synergies in this somehow, and I'm not sure exactly how that works, or would work, but it would be quite fun, I'm sure. As 90% of the fun of games like Isaac is just seeing the weird unintentional things that you can do, as well as, you know, of course, overcoming the challenge that the game provides in the first place, but, you know, a nice mix of the two, I think, goes well. I'm trying to think about, like, what I feel about the fact that things are so very noisy. Like, the combination of the atmosphere here, it's both a plus and a minus in a way, I guess, because I know I just said, like, earlier, I'm definitely into it, and I am, but I'm thinking for a lot of people, I think it could probably put them off, because I imagine this rotating and rocking back and forth as well as the strobing, well, you're hitting a lot of different sensitivities that people could have between motion sickness and epilepsy, and I wonder if that does more harm than good for the stylistic sake. But then again, with those filters, it gives us so much more flair, and I think if you were to just have this being kind of static, just sitting there, without the rocking back and forth and the noise filter and the blinking colors and the, you know, blown out bass of the soundtrack, you'd be left with something that just feels kind of like basic. So, oh my god, I ran straight into that projectile. There should definitely be some kind of cue that tells you more obviously when an object is something that would kill you versus is a power-up. Because it kind of looks to me like the power-ups that you pick up, the little rainbowy flickering things, and the projectiles, they both kind of flicker a little bit, and at a glance, well, aside from the shape, I mean, there's not a whole lot else to tell you that. But maybe that's just me. I don't know, you guys let me know what you think about that. I really like that laser that those things shoot. I kind of wish there were more levels geared around, you know, specific challenges, because I guess there's a little bit of a Geometry Wars feeling in this, too, where you see these specific shapes and figures, and you try to learn what they do, and then you try and adapt that to how you can move around the space and do whatever you can to create strategies to keep yourself safe. See, like, this level is kind of cool because those were all Cheetos, and it kind of lets you really focus on, you know, learning one specific enemy. Oh, come on, that's kind of cheap when you have to run straight into them, but they shoot straight at you. I guess you just gotta time it better, but it sucks when there's multiple together like that. I'm not really sure you're meant to get around them. Oh, again! Freaking camera was right out. I haven't made it past level 4, I don't think, still, which is real bad for me. All the times that it's like you just get to level 1 and just start over and start over and start over. I imagine that kind of wears you down after a while. I'm thinking, like, what would be a way that you could make that pressure kind of alleviate a little bit, and maybe you'd end up with something a little bit like, you know, a long-term unlock system, which is probably why so many roguelike-likes do that, where as you play a certain amount of matches or rounds or games or whatever you want to call it, you end up unlocking more options that make the game slightly easier. So it's sort of like a more passive version of, or rather more active version of the thing that Rogue Legacy did, where what I mean by passive and active is, like, in Rogue Legacy you go and you pick up a power-up, that power-up stays with you, and no matter what you do, you start out with a little bit of an advantage. In this, or, you know, in the other form of things, you'd end up with a system where you're not guaranteed to get any actual advantage from time to time. There's just a chance that it becomes part of your item pool, and thereby you have a chance to get an advantage. But, you know, there's no guarantees that any one round will be easier than another, which, you know, again, is not so much the case in Rogue Legacy. Even though the castle is randomized in that game, you very much have a huge advantage fighting enemies one-to-one, just due to the fact that you get so many, you know, bonuses to, like, your MP or your HP or your strength or, you know, various abilities, double jumps and things like that. Even, you know, lifesteal and things like that. So, you know, that kind of stuff goes a long way into making things always easier. But with a game like this, I think you probably want to have it just be sort of flexible a little bit, or to have it change from one round to the next, more so. Anyway, I guess I'm kind of curious what you guys think about jet lag. Does the atmosphere carry it as far as the gameplay does, or vice versa? Do you think that what's going on here is effective enough to build a full gameplay system upon? Or is it too frustrating that you keep starting over in level 1 every time and you don't necessarily feel like you make a ton of progress in terms of becoming more skillful as you play? I mean, it could also just be the fact that I'm talking over it and I haven't really been able to take the time to really consider my moves a little bit more carefully. I kind of wonder if maybe things were slowed down slightly too, if I might be able to make slightly more strategic plays. I could even see there being a mode to this that almost works like action points, where maybe your moves kind of tick away, sort of like, you know, XCOM or something. You get a certain amount of movements that you can make per turn, and then the enemies would make their moves on their turn. Well, I think there's been a number of games that have taken that approach to movement and tactics, but I don't know, I've never really seen it done with something quite this minimalistic, maybe, so that could be kind of interesting. Although I guess you could kind of group ASCII games and things like that into there too, so maybe there are some options for that type of gameplay. Anyway, I do think, though, that the soundtrack and the kind of hypnotic nature of the one more play and the fact that everything just goes so seamlessly and frictionlessly just kind of keeps you going. And that there is something to be said for that. Whether or not you're super into the gameplay from one moment to the next, it has that kind of like popcorn quality to it, where even if you're not having a fantastic time, it's almost easier to just play again than to actually turn it off. Which is a strange thing, but it kind of works for some people, I'd say. And I don't know why that power-up is freaking shooting all over the place, but I guess I'm not going to get that one. The way the levels are structured, though, I don't feel like, even though they are randomly generated, that it means all that much for them to be drastically different from one another. So I guess maybe differentiating them in some more meaningful way might be useful, too, to change up the gameplay a little bit. But I'm also not sure exactly how far along this is in development. It might be that this is fairly early on. So, you know, there's always the chance that maybe it's not a big deal. Oh my god, I was going to make it past level 4, and I blew it! I blew it. I had one job, and I blew it. Well, I don't know. Maybe make the difficulty scaling a little bit different as well. Maybe make it a little slower to get more difficult. Or don't overwhelm the player as much at the start of a level. Would be kind of nice. Or more power-ups to balance things. I don't know. There's like 100 different ways you could approach this. I'm not one to necessarily balance every roguelike that's out there. But I certainly do try whenever I can. So anyway, that was Jet Lag. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you'll go check it out yourself. There's both a browser version and a downloadable version, so whichever one suits you. I believe there's a version for just about every platform as well. So go give it a try. Let me know what you think firsthand. I would love the criticism to come back and continue the discussion, if possible, in the comments. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it as well. And, of course, be sure to come back again tomorrow, because every day a new episode of Indie Impressions goes up. So if you're into the idea of finding out about a new artistic, original, unique indie game, come on back, and I will have some more for you then. And hopefully we'll have a nice talk about some other element of the indie world in another episode. So, thanks everybody for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you back again tomorrow. Have a great night, all.